Taiwan's political status remains ambiguous due to historical treaties and diplomatic agreements. Taiwan's democratic governance and self-determination have gained international acceptance, complicating China's protests. Taiwan's ambiguous status, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, is the official stance of the Japanese government. Why is this the case? In 1895, Japan, through the Treaty of Shimonoseki, known as the Treaty of Maguan in China, formally acquired Taiwan from the Qing dynasty through a legitimate diplomatic agreement. This made Taiwan part of Japan, an arrangement recognized by the international community. Historically, there are numerous examples of such diplomatic treaties becoming effective and resulting in territorial changes. For instance, Alaska was purchased by the United States from Russia, and once the treaty was established, it became U.S. territory. Today, there is no dispute about this. Similarly, Taiwan becoming part of Japan in 1895 is an undisputed historical fact. In 1945, when Japan surrendered, it renounced all overseas territories acquired since the Meiji Restoration, retaining only the 4 main islands of Hokkaido, Honshu, Kyushu, and Shikoku, along with some surrounding smaller islands. All other territories were relinquished. Logically speaking, if you have an item, say, a phone, that you acquired through purchase, a bet, or a gift, it becomes yours. If you then decide you no longer want it, this does not mean the item reverts to its original owner. Therefore, when Japan relinquished Taiwan, it became a terra nullius. This is the Japanese government's position, as Japan did not return Taiwan to China, or the Republic of China, having originally acquired it from the Qing dynasty. There has been no return to the Republic of China. Japan's stance is that since we were all defeated, we have no right to interfere. We only relinquish what is not ours. Ultimately, who does it belong to? Japan has no say in the matter. This has been the consistent position of the Japanese government. So, why was Taiwan in that situation? At the time, the Kuomintang government of the Republic of China, led by Chiang Kai-shek, came to Taiwan to accept the surrender of Japanese forces on behalf of the United Nations allied powers. They managed and controlled the weapons. Therefore, during the surrender ceremony at the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall in Taipei, many flags were raised, not just the flag of the Republic of China. There were also the flags of China, the United States, and the United Kingdom, representing the allied powers accepting the land. Thus, it was a form of trusteeship. They did not gain full ownership. In fact, the same applies to Vietnam. The Republic of China also accepted the surrender of Japanese forces in Vietnam and took control. However, if the logic that the Republic of China should own Taiwan holds, then Vietnam should also be part of China. No one claims that now. Therefore, Taiwan was vaguely taken over by the Republic of China. After the takeover, as mentioned earlier, there have been various political claims, including Taiwan's independence, suggesting that just because someone lives in a house without ownership, it doesn't become theirs. This argument is invalid. So, when did Taiwan gain international recognition? In fact, it was in 1996, when Taiwan held its first direct presidential election. This election met the international community standards for self-determination, as the local people chose their own president. Therefore, Taiwan effectively became an independent country. Although Taiwan has various unresolved issues with China. The Taiwanese government elected by its own citizens is legitimate. However, over the long term, the issue of Taiwan's status has persisted due to the Kuomintang government, which has long occupied Taiwan. The Kuomintang has consistently claimed that it represents China, leading to a situation akin to the true and false Monkey King from the Journey to the West. In this analogy, both the six-eared macaque and the Monkey King claim to be the true Monkey King, making it difficult for others to distinguish between them. In this context, the stronger one is deemed the true Monkey King, as depicted in the story. Historically, in the international community, both Taiwan and China claim to represent all of China. Given China's greater size and strength, the international community ultimately recognized China as the legitimate representative, granting it the seat at the United Nations. Today, if Taiwan were to assert that it is not claiming to be the true representative of China, but rather the six-eared macaque, the international community would likely be more receptive. If Taiwan were to say it represents only its 23 million people, and does not contest the legitimacy of China's claim to represent the 1.4 billion people on the mainland, the international community would be more inclined to acknowledge Taiwan's space. For many years, China has used Resolution 2758, passed in 1971 when it regained its seat at the United Nations, to assert its claim over Taiwan. This resolution states that the People's Republic of China is the sole legitimate representative of China, without explicitly mentioning Taiwan or the Republic of China. However, China has interpreted this resolution to mean that Taiwan is a part of China. Despite this broad interpretation, no country has challenged China's claim, partly because, in 1971, Taiwan was not a democratic state. Taiwan's first claim is that it is the legitimate government of China. The second is that Taiwan's military and government rule the people with bayonets, not through democratic elections. They are a foreign power. The United Nations finds both governments unappealing, so why should it recognize one over the other? In 1971, when China took the interpretive rights of Resolution 2758, the international community did not argue. However, after 1996, when Taiwan became a democratically elected government and no longer claimed legitimacy, the conditions that made it difficult for the international community to judge disappeared. Now, the international community is starting to say that Taiwan should have nothing to do with China. President Lai Ching-te recently stated that the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China do not belong to each other. This idea was actually first proposed by President Tsai Ing-wen, who said that the world recognizes only one China, which is the People's Republic of China. I agree with that assessment. Under these circumstances, the interpretations of the One China policy, Resolution 2758, and Taiwan's status have significantly changed worldwide, starting with the United States. Now, China's pro-unification faction often cites a few points. First, they mention the Potsdam Declaration, which states that Taiwan should be returned to the Republic of China. However, many argue that the Potsdam Declaration was not a formal treaty, but rather a press release, as Churchill, Roosevelt, and Chiang Kai-shek did not sign it. There are many scholarly articles discussing this aspect. Second, they refer to the Cairo Declaration, which demands Japan's surrender and includes a provision about Taiwan. In other words, it is essential to adhere to the principles outlined in the Declaration of Independence and the Potsdam Declaration. These two declarations are the fundamental tenets advocated by all factions in China. The Declaration of Independence explicitly references the Potsdam Declaration, indicating its validity. However, the San Francisco Treaty, which Japan signed with the United States and the rest of the world to end the war, is often overlooked. To illustrate, the Declaration of Independence and the Potsdam Declaration can be compared to legal notices sent during a divorce, where one party demands separation. The San Francisco Treaty, on the other hand, is akin to the final divorce settlement, determining custody and property division, which holds legal weight. The Potsdam Declaration and the Declaration of Independence were issued during the war while Japan was still fighting, and although Japan agreed to them, the terms outlined in the San Francisco Treaty, signed when Japan officially surrendered, are what truly matter. Essentially, the San Francisco Treaty leaves the status of Taiwan undefined, making no mention of returning Taiwan to the Republic of China. Therefore, historically and currently, the status of Taiwan as undefined is the correct perspective. Although China may vehemently protest, the international community, particularly the United States and Japan, the two most influential nations in setting global rules, with Japan being a direct party, agree that Taiwan's status was undetermined. In 1996, when Taiwan elected its president and legislature, it became clear that Taiwan belongs to its people. This has become an accepted fact in the international community. Despite China's efforts to pressure others into taking a stance, it is increasingly difficult to persuade anyone otherwise, as China's position lacks justification.